got paid to the highest bidder, and they smell which direction the winds are blowing. But despite the fact
Mhm.
that we are entering into an oligarchic hellscape, the next 4 years are going to be nuts. We're starting the year off with terrorist attacks and devastating fires in Los Angeles. There's wildfires in California every year, but these ones are burning in places they don't typically burn. And I
Yeah.
think, on a yearly basis, it's like we're just exposed to the reality that our impacts to climate change are real. And despite the fact, if you believe that they're not, these weather patterns are happening and we need to do something about our infrastructure, or else people are just going to be misplaced. People are going to die en masse. There's going to be massive areas where people can no longer be. So we're at a point now where, regardless if you believe in climate change or not, we need to do something about our infrastructure.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'll tell you right now, with the helicopters flying above, we need to do something. This is ridiculous.
yeah, yeah. Otherwise, this is just going to cost more money than any of those investments.
Yeah.
And I think that we'll get there, but unfortunately, we're gonna have to have at least 4 years of a bunch of BS, really, for people
Basically.
to for millions of Americans who don't right now to realize that, oh, okay, yeah, it matters who's in office, and we do have real problems that aren't just gonna sort themselves out.
Absolutely. Could have said it better.
But that's why today we're here to talk about vampires, because there's only so much there's only so much that we're going to do in regards to all of this. We got to spread ourselves out in other areas. And
Yes, we do.
man, there's just vampires, I mean, even outside of movies and cinema, vampires are like some of humanity's most common myth and legend, and these stories and the similarities that you see across cultures and across times,
Yeah.
which to me is really interesting, in a sense of, like, some, like, for instance, the bow and arrow that's been invented many times by many different people. Like, there's just something about our collective unconscious and just what we are as social beings and what we're capable of. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? To where, like, a bunch of people all over the world have their vampire myths and
Oh
legends,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
dragons and all of
It's one of the oldest myths in history, I would
that.
say.
Mhm.
I mean, they people really believe this for a long time.
Yeah, like, for real. I bet it's probably still people out here in remote areas that still do.
I'm pretty sure they do. Yeah. Well, I know that there's that the whole goth culture. That South Park has done a marvelous job of.
Oh yeah.
That dude. But there are vamp clubs. There are. At least I've heard. That's what Buffy the Vampire Slayer once said. They showed a club. Do you remember that?
The beginning of the show, at the beginning, where they had all the people trapped in the building, and they were gonna
Yep.
basically sacrifice so that this, like, yeah. Yep.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Yep. Buffy the Vampire. See, that show goes back as far as I can remember. I
Oh
was
yeah.
born in '92, and I rewatched some of it recently. I
Oh
want to keep
nice.
watching it, but really good show.
It's a really
And
good
and a
show.
very it's so '90s too.
Yeah.
Like, it's so '90s, and I was a little kid in the '90s, but I think that was a pretty cool era. But great show though.
Yeah, it was one of the few. I think a lot of people, when it first came out, their only kind of connection to it was the film, which was kind of ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
really ridiculous. But I think when the series came out, it just surprised a lot of people because it wasn't really about vampires. It was about growing up and struggling with life. That's what
Yeah.
they dealt with it. This is what horror and I think vampire legends have always been. They've always dealt with our inner demons, our fears of the unknown, our fears of death. It's a
Yeah,
scary
yeah, absolutely. And what it means and where we go
thing.
after that's done. Absolutely. I can see how, just, and one of the things too, like, in our Western world that we live in, we're so dismissive. Well, part of our human nature is to be really dismissive of things that are different than ourselves.
For sure.
But, like, we tend to just dismiss magical thinking entirely. And the older I've gotten and the more that I just like really research people, like again, like put yourself in a time before technology. You had to be in tune with nature. You had to know how the stars worked, how to follow, how to track things. You had to understand the world in ways that we just don't need to understand it
Yeah.
now, in terms of like a day-to-day skill, which inherently makes your existence more spiritual because you're more connected to everything else. And in reality, you are everything else. So so just from that sense, if you don't understand how even to this day, people can't definitively say what happens when you die. What
No.
before you, we don't have any definitive answers for that. So when you don't, and even now we speculate on where, is there a soul? Does life continue, or are we just this one piece of this big broader consciousness? Thousands of years ago, death is more common. You see it more. You see dead bodies all the time in the old ancient world. That's just
Mhm.
part of, you just see it more than you do. It makes sense to where you would think that these things can be reanimated. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you don't bury them deep enough, maybe like some rain comes and like it raises the soil and you see these bodies that are out that you buried. How did it get up there? Like, so I mean, it makes sense why that would happen.
Oh yeah, I mean it's got to be. I'll tell you the story. It's a little off topic. It's a ghost story. I was at the Washoe Club with doing a ghost hunt with Nick
Hmm.
Groff. It was for a Nick Groff investigates situation. It was a lot of fun. There was a lot of people there, but me and him went in the Washoe Club over in Virginia City, Nevada, and at one point I had this really creepy feeling, and I was like, I had to go to this place, this little corner in the building. And I was like, he's like, do you know what happened there? And I'm like, I have no idea, but I need to go there. It's something horrible, something sad. I went in there and I felt this, like this death. That's what it felt like. And he's like, so you want to know what happened? That's where they keep the dead bodies. They were all right below. And
Yeah.
it was that was commonplace that they had to store people's bodies, and so
And it delivers an energy, an aura.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, even an energy that, whether you believe in ghosts or not, it leaves a stain, it leaves a mark.
Hmm.
I truly believe that, and I think that the idea of those people, you hit the nail on the head, man. It's like the rain soaking the bodies up, the things that we know now very well. Science tells us why, but back then they didn't have that. They didn't
Hmm.
have, all they had was their superstitions and fears, which unfortunately feels like sometimes that is coming back.
Yeah, a lot of it for real, especially with the disasters going on. You see, like we're being punished by the cosmic forces. So yeah, there's
Nothing pisses me off more than that. I think it's
yeah,
offensive. I think it's honestly offensive, and there's nothing Christian about that. Nothing Christian
yeah.
about saying it's God's will that all these people are dying. That's not okay. I think you have serious issues if you say that, those kinds of things.
Yeah, because if that's how you think about it, then God gave us the will to better care of ourselves.
Yeah, yeah,
So at the end of the day, we gotta we gotta do something about these issues for sure.
yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, that a lot of that thinking is coming back. But
Yeah,
like I was saying, it's as you pointed out, that leaves a mark in those areas where they kept those bodies. But
yeah,
you know, there people human beings are very intuitive and intelligent, and we've never been stupid. Like just because we didn't have, you know what I mean? Like just because we didn't understand necessarily how like molecules and viruses and
sure.
bacteria work, that we weren't like 50,000 years ago, before we had writing or any of that, we were still very intelligent and very intuitive. So I think that there's a lot of uh it's worthwhile to admire parts of ourselves that we've lost, because again, like some of those superstitions are just providing meaning to our existence more than, like people still, like people understood again how to navigate things, when things grew, when things didn't grow, how,
Hmm.
like, and they saw other animals as beings instead of just like something separate. So that's why I think these conversations can be interesting because again, like the vampire mythos has existed forever.
Yeah.
Especially like one of the things I liked about Nosferatu, the one that just came out that I
Yeah.
think is a fantastic, amazing film,
Mm-hmm. I
is how
told
they
you. I told you.
yeah, you did. You did. That was one of the first, like, just that was one of the first ones that you was like, excellent film, and it was. I thought it was, like you said, a gothic romance, and it's the story of Nosferatu,
Yeah.
and it's I think the cinematography was great.
Oh God, it's stunning. Yeah.
Lily Rose Depp was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that they did Nosferatu, like as like kind of like a rotting corpse, basically. That was cool, and apparently more in line with like older European ideas of vampires.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, Robert Eggers does do his research. He knows what he's talking about. He knows the history. He put a lot of that into the film. So we're not just looking at some kind of gooey, monstery figure. And I know a lot of there's a few people that were disappointed because they wanted something scarier. And I think it's more unsettling than scary. That's my take.
Yeah,
It's because again, it's similar to Crimson Peak, the Del Toro film. It was really a gothic romance, and we don't see a lot of those. But I'm glad that people did react well to Nosferatu for the most part. I think
yeah,
people were kind of amazed by, like, I love the fact that he was almost human because it made him more evil. It made him
yeah. I like that
more,
too.
yeah,
I thought it was. Yeah, and like you said, I think it really um alluded to the fact that he was once a man.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and he still somewhat wishes he was.
Well, it would also makes the end far without spoiling anything, obviously, because there are some people that haven't seen it, but it made sense. Like that was a very unsettling and grotesque way to do it, but it was so it was really I bought it. I
Mhm.
bought it. I believed that he would do that. I believed it. And it was like that's a cool thing to if you can end a movie like that well, it still stuck with me from
Mhm.
day one. I'm like, good on you. Good on bravo, Edgar Eggers, Robert Eggers.
And I had never seen the original Nosferatu, and I wasn't really familiar with the storyline, but I think that that was a pretty cool storyline. Like it was very, it just felt very classic, you
You
know?
should though see the original. It is
Yeah,
marvelous. It is a very unsettling. It's very creepy. Very
yeah.
creepy.
Well, some of like the shadow silhouettes and stuff that,
Mhm. Yeah.
and now that I've seen this, and I've been looking at a few like Robert Eggers talking about stuff, and then they'll bring like footage from the old one back and the music in it, and it does seem like it's something I should check out, especially if it's held up for this long, you know. Um, but I thought that that was really cool, and we got. I forgot to bring this up while we was talking about it. We just been jamming. I had the Buffy the Vampire Slayer stuffs pulled up, but yeah, the original OG Nosferatu right here.
There he is. There he is. Oh, speaking of, I got a little surprise. I'm dropping my mic,
What
but I
we
got a little
got?
surprise for you. I actually speaking of Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
Oh,
I
what's
got
up?
not only I met one of my dearest, one of the sweetest guys in the world, Mr. Doug Jones, who portrayed this guy in Hush. It's one of the best episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer ever. And he did his own version of Nosferatu.
Okay. Okay,
So
nice. Yes, you got and see, man, your background continues to surpass mine.
oh yeah, I mean I got this, I got a bird.
Oh yeah, you sent that to me yesterday. Yeah, man,
Can you
I'm gonna
say
have to. I'm gonna get on Etsy and
good?
start ordering me some shit for sure. Cause I can't let you outdo me too much. You know what
No,
I
no,
mean?
dude. It's almost dizzying. I'm like, I hope we don't have to evacuate. I don't know.
Right, exactly.
What
That
is
yeah. And
that?
that's some of why this is so tragic
And
because
it
like the
is
people losing stuff that has real value. You know, like if you're
stuff that
not
you can't replace ever.
yeah,
Personal stuff.
yeah, and it's real. Like it's easy to just be like, oh, it's just stuff, but
Yeah.
no, it's memories too. It's pieces of who and what you are.
Yeah. Yeah. It is heartbreaking. It's like that's why it's so nice to just do this and
Right,
like step
exactly.
away from it for a minute. And I mean, we're just trying to help out, so that's all we can do. Like we're in a safe area, we can help out. That's what I'm trying to do. You know. Oh gosh, that's great.
Now,
That
what tell us a little bit about this one.
that
This
would be
one
the
was
70s version.
79.
Yes, it is a
Yeah.
wonderful film. It's funny because the three films made on him, and of course the SpongeBob episode.
Sm- oh yeah, yeah. What yeah, the hash
Nosferatu.
slinging slasher.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's just I think it's just such an interesting, like, I like it in a way more than the Dracula legend itself, because I feel like in a way it's closer to what Mary Shelley would have written, or not
Mm.
Mary Shelley. Wait,
Bram
well,
Stoker.
Bram Stoker. I'm getting Frankenstein mixed up. Sorry, God, it's early. I'm dealing with so.
Right, right.
Bram Stoker's. I think that it's just this is such an interesting story because he is a beast. He is a monster, but it's not. He's a he the there are people with deformities, and there are people that have to suffer through, and I you have to wonder, they're not all they're not all ugly
Mm.
inside, just on the outside. And I have to wonder about this character specifically. It's like, especially with the one that Eggers did, and I guess even with these, it's like, I don't know. They create a very believable villain, somebody who is partially human, and kind of has his own needs and desires, and is looking to fulfill them. I think that's interesting. I don't know.
He's not totally so in this version he still has those human elements to his character and his
I think
desires.
so. Like, I haven't seen this version for years. It's been like, I think I saw it in like the 80s,
Mhm.
like a long time ago, before you were born.
Yeah.
But I do want to. I can't speak for this version fully because I do love this version. I loved it. In fact, we should have a fucking. We should rewatch all three. Have
Yeah,
a,
definitely. Now, especially since I like the newest one so much, I want to see
yeah,
these ones as
you
well.
really should. And SpongeBob. Don't forget
Oh
SpongeBob.
yeah, I mean, I used to watch it every day, literally every day before I went to school. Even in high school, it was just so good.
Although, I will say this is my least favorite design of Nosferatu in a way.
Yeah.
I kind of like the new version just because it was, again, it looked like an old lord who's just rotting. And I thought that was really interesting.
I thought it was cool too. The mustache and the
Mhm.
just his voice, and his voice was
Oh
so
God, yes.
booming and just like, oh yeah, you knew. I mean, us as the viewers, we knew the whole time that my man's the real estate agent was going into a bad situation.
Yeah.
But when you heard him talk, you were like, oh, this motherfucker is no good.
Yeah.
You just knew. It was like, damn, it was no good. But I yes, and from what I've gathered, the Nosferatu story is and what he is kind of different than the Bram Stoker
Mhm.
Dracula. And there was like apparently a bunch of like lawsuits and stuff when this movie came out for it being tied to Dracula and stuff.
I wouldn't be surprised. There is a movie that's a really interesting film, Shadow of the Vampire, with Willem
Mhm.
Dafoe. If you've never seen it, based on this, I believe that's what the title is. It's based on the making of this film, the original Nosferatu.
Okay. Yeah, no, I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this guy in this version of Dracula, he basically brings plague infested rats with him everywhere he goes. So
Yeah.
he bring wherever he goes, he brings the plague, and his presence kind of drives people nuts. And he's kind of like just a walking disease
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, and then the classic Dracula seems to be kind of more like still a monster, but more in control of his existence
Yeah.
in a way, like more of a classic type of vampire that you think about, more human looking, and
Mhm.
like his presence doesn't like cause nationwide mass death and hysteria. So in a
Oh,
lot of
shit,
ways,
maybe Nosferatu's here. Oh my god.
oh, right, yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Jesus
That's what's going
Christ.
on. That's exactly
Oh
what's
my
going on.
god. It sure
That's
feels like
yeah.
it.
He been chilling in the deep state for the last 10 years. That's how we
Yeah,
got Donald Trump.
thank God. Oh, I
Exactly.
know.
But I would say he's kind of a more of a monster than Dracula is.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he is, but he's like I that's why I think there's something kind of, I mean, monstrous about people in general. Like,
Mm,
he represents this I think what makes him interesting is he's not just there's a level of lust, a desire that he has. It's not just about, well, I need to suck blood to stay alive. I don't drink
mm,
wine. I drink, whatever. Um, I think with him, it's an insatiable lust, an insatiable need to corrupt, to
mm,
devour, because he knows what he is and who he is. He knows he's a beast. He knows he's a monster, and that can bring a lot of misery to someone. That could bring. I
mhm,
mean, I'm taking this very seriously, but like, they think about that. If you are somebody who is looked upon as a monster, as a beast, as you're treated like, oh God, I don't even want to get near that person. Well, I mean, maybe you're going to get to a point where I'm like, okay, well, screw you then. I'm going to be that monster. I'm going to be, and I just think that was, I don't know. I've always thought that about this character. I've always thought the vampire is kind of like, I mean, we're not talking about, we haven't even gone into the others, like the Lost Boys, the Near
mhm.
Dark. There's so many great vampire movies. Salem's Lot, the original. Um, but I think that's what's interesting about this character specifically. I just feel like he's just pissed off. He's like, oh, I'm gonna make people suffer.
Yeah, and because he's hundreds and hundreds of years old, he's completely detached from humanity. They're other things. They're not a part of him anymore
No,
at all.
he's lost
He's
that part of him.
yeah. But yeah, no, that's why I think that this was, and again, before I saw that one, I had no idea what the story was about. But basically, this woman accidentally stumbled upon. Well, they accidentally stumbled upon each other,
Yeah, well,
and after that,
he found her when she was very young, and he's always known. He's always had this thing for her, and that's why everyone thought she was insane, because she was having these fucking visions and these all nightmares, and it's like, oh, so it's like it's almost like there's a whole lot behind that, man.
mm,
She's, as a young child, she was going after this poor thing, basically.
right,
You know,
right, exactly. But yeah, no, this is definitely a fantastic movie.
I
And
think
I mean, hold on. So we got now. This is a classic one. I haven't seen this one. I mean, this is just a Bram Stoker with Gary
Gary
Oldman.
Oldman, yeah,
Yeah, that was. I haven't seen this one. I mean, we got the
yeah,
Christopher Lee movies, the Blade movies, Underworld, From Dusk Till Dawn. You mentioned the Lost Boys, Van Helsing, the Little Vampire, Blackula, Dracula, Vampire in Brooklyn, Queen of the Damned, The Twilight Saga, Friday Night, the Abraham Lincoln movie where he was
hmm
fighting the Confederate vampires, Interview with the Vampire, True
my
Blood,
favorite, by the way.
Interview with the Vampire.
I'm an Anne Rice guy. I was so into Anne Rice when I
Yeah.
was younger.
Hmm.
Interview with the Vampire, Queen of the Damned, the Vampire Lestat. I was so in love with those books because they were so otherworldly and kind of filled with sexuality, and fucking they were dangerous a little bit. They were
Hmm.
a little bit dangerous. This one in particular, I have seen Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula. I'm not a huge fan. I love Gary Oldman is stunning, fucking brilliant. Some of the other cast members, not so much.
Yeah. I feel like Gary Oldman looks like the Queen from Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, it was so it was so over the top, and it's a pretty film. I mean, it's a beautiful film, but I felt it felt like more like eye candy to me. I know a
Mhm.
lot of people love this film. A lot. It's very respected in the world because the effects are pretty wild. There's visually a lot to take in. It's cool to look at. I would like to watch it again because I haven't seen it for years. But
I
it's
haven't
not
I've
one.
never yeah, I haven't seen it at all.
Yeah, it's. I would be curious to see what you would think of this after having seen Nosferatu.
Okay, yeah, Imma have to check that out because I got these list of classic movies that I need to watch, and I've
Yeah.
watched some breakdowns of this movie, but it's been quite a while. Now,
Yeah.
have you seen the any of the Dracula movies with Christopher Lee?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Are you would that was a Saturday night or Saturday like afternoon they'd have those on. I mean, they were like they felt a little goofy to me for
Mhm.
that time, but that was the kind of that the Hammer horror type of thing. I was never fully into that, but I respect it. I think it's cool. I think it's fun. There's a
It
lot of
didn't
good in it.
When did these movies come out? The
70s and 60s, I believe. I want
Yeah.
to say, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, there was a time when Hammer horror was huge. I mean, Kate Bush had a song about it, so yeah, I'm dropping Kate Bush bombs here. I love Kate Bush. I don't know if you're a Kate Bush fan, but you should be.
No, I'm not I don't think I'm familiar, actually.
Oh yeah,
Am I missing out?
yeah, you're missing out. I gotta. It's they used her song "Running Up That Hill" in Stranger Things season 4, and
Mhm.
she became super relevant again. It was a huge hit when back in the UK in like in 81 or something.
Yeah.
And it's she's kind of interesting. I think you'd like her music. It's very bizarre. Also, Hounds of Love. Check out that album.
Hounds of Love?
Yeah, by Kate Bush. It's pretty wild.
Alright, cool, I'm writing it down now.
Guarantee you've never heard anything
And
like.
every month, well, every week, a couple days a week, I listen to new music.
Good, good. Yeah.
Tomorrow's Monday, which is one of my new music days.
Oh, sweet, sweet, sweet.
Check that out. Now, this next one that I got lined up is a series that, well, it's from Marvel. It's Blade,
Okay.
and I think that that now this movie's still good to me. The original Blade. I
Yeah.
think I remember. I mean, it came out when I was really young, but I remember seeing it when I was super young. And Blade originally is a Marvel character,
It is.
and his story is, he's a vampire who hunts vampires. He's able to walk around in the daytime. His mother was bit by a vampire while she was pregnant with him, and she gave birth, and that's why he doesn't have those particular weaknesses.
Yeah.
Um, there were three movies to this.
Mhm.
Wesley Snipes was also in the Deadpool versus Wolverine. He
Yes, you
made
did.
yeah, he made a cameo in that. And I think out of all three of the movies, the first one was the best.
It
And
was
for when it
I like part 2.
Yeah,
I'm a Blade 2 guy. I love Del Toro, so I'm a Blade 2 guy.
Blade 2 was good as well.
It really was.
I think, well, hold on. What year did Blade come out? Let me look that up. 98.
Oh, yeah.
It
Yeah.
came out in 98. And I think well, I don't know if it was ahead of its time, but it
I
was
think it was.
a
Yeah.
Marvel movie, yeah, for like yeah, I think it could be said that it was ahead of its time.
I think so. I mean, there was a I mean, now obviously it's a very a different vibe, a different atmosphere, a different tone, but for sure there were certainly action elements to those movies that they weren't typical horror films. They were action movies.
Yeah. Um and I think there was supposed to be a reboot of Blade. But
Yeah.
that, like, the studios or something had never come to a full agreement, or do you know anything more about what was going on with that?
I
I
feel
think
like
it's
there
done
was
now.
I feel like there was something going to happen with it soon, but I don't know. I've got to look into that because like now, yeah, I do. I would like to see them try it again. Why not?
Yeah, and definitely why not? And they could do so much with it because it's been a while since it was released.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't remember what it was, but they couldn't come to agreement. I can't remember I got the actor's name in my head, who they were going to use,
Let
who
me
I think
see if
was
if
pretty
there's anything
fitting.
on that. What's on IMDb, because it's gonna bug me now. Like, because I like that character. That's a fun
Yeah,
character, dude.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think I think because he's more, and he's one of those characters that like he's he's not very dynamic, but sometimes characters that aren't very dynamic, you can write endless stories with them. Like you remember the show Samurai Jack?
Yeah, vaguely. Yeah.
So basically that's a show where the way it's written, it's like every episode is a standalone within its own. Like
Mm.
the ultimate goal of Samurai Jack, he gets sent back in time and he's trying to find a time portal. Well, he gets sent forward in time and he's trying to find a time portal so he can go back in time and defeat Aku before Aku takes over the world. And
Oh,
so
okay.
every episode is him doing something, trying to find a time portal, just dealing with this and dealing with that. And I say all that to say Samurai Jack he's not a very dynamic character. He's very solely focused on one thing, but sometimes because of that, you can do so much more with the writing, like in
Yeah.
terms of like comic books or television shows or movies.
Hmm.
Blade is his kind of singular focus is I'm trying to kill vampires,
Hmm.
but because of that, it's like you can like how many endless stories can you write about him going against some vampires?
Yeah. I mean, well, look, we're how many they made, 4 or 5 underworlds? I think 4 underworlds.
Yeah, at
There's
least.
room for. I mean, I would love to see a return of Blade. And I did. There is something, I don't know. I'll have to do some research, see where they are. But Mia Goth was involved, which would be kind of cool. So,
Oh yeah, yeah. She's
it.
I've seen a few of her interviews and she seems so like eccentric and spunky and like, but she can play anybody. Um,
She's really sweet. She
yeah,
just
she
comes across
seems like, and
like,
she seems
oh,
very authentic, like just a
yeah.
very authentic person.
I like her a lot. I like talking
Yeah.
to her a lot. She's a really sweet girl, and just I think she's crazy. I think her performance in Pearl is one of the best of the past decade. I think it's stunning,
Yeah.
absolutely stunning.
Yeah, I think it's good too because I recently I've seen two of those movies. But
Yeah,
yeah, I've seen some of the interviews with her. She seems like a very authentic person who's just very much herself, and she's
yeah,
a very talented actress.
I agree. I agree. Speaking of talent, there's a Kate Beckinsale. I can't say her name. She's great too. I love
Yeah.
this character. I love Underworld.
Yeah, I
It's
thought this was
dumb.
really cool too. I remember when I
Yeah.
first saw the first one back at the old house, and this came out early 2000s. It
Mhm.
had to have.
Oh yeah, this is the peak 2000 style of goofy style over substance kind of silliness, which I still like. Don't get me wrong, I like these movies. I think they're goofy and fun. They're not good movies per se.
Yeah, yeah, but they're fun and they have cool, decent stories and the atmosphere too. It's real
Mhm.
dark, like like it, like literally, like the lighting, the clothing. You know what I'm saying? Like all
Yeah.
of that stuff. But yeah, I really liked the Underworld movies. When was the last one that they came out with?
The last one I believe was it Rise of the Lycans, right? The prequel, I believe. That
I
was
think
that had to have been early 2010s, I believe.
yeah, I think it was around that time because
Yeah.
they were running those for a little bit.
Rona
All right.
Mitra was in that one. She obviously played the Kate Beckinsale character, the lead character. She didn't play the same character, but I covered a couple of those movies actually.
Yeah. All right. So, do you know anything about these ones? The Twilight Saga.
I covered those
Do you know
movies.
anything?
Uh,
Yeah.
Look, I what those movies did was bring us two really interesting actors. Rob Pattinson is a great fucking actor.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Kristen Stewart kicks ass. She's a great, and she's both of them awesome to interview. They're fucking cool. Um, I it's not for me.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. They're sparkling vampires was not in my thing. I wasn't. I just remember. I'm going to tell you a quote that I heard someone say about this movie, and it made me laugh so hard. Is that somebody saw? I think it was the Wolfman remake.
Mhm.
Not the one coming out, but there was the one with from 2010 with I forgot his name, but with Anthony Hopkins was in it. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I remember
Someone
that.
saw that and they posted on in a comment section that, oh my god, they totally ripped off Twilight. Yeah, so these are made, look, these are made for a specific audience. The Twilight movies are
Plus for
goofy.
teenage girls.
Yeah, teenage girl. You know that I know some guys that like these movies. I do.
And the
I'm not
books, because
weird.
they were a big book series too, because that's
Huge
how it
series.
started off.
Yeah, it was fan fiction. That's all it
Yeah.
was. So, I mean, look, I remember there was a year at Comic-Con when these came out, and like a lot of people were pissed because the lines for Hall H were all for this, and the guys who are there for the cooler movies, the Marvel stuff, were pissed off because how come the fucking Twilight's here? And I'm like, guys, they have the right to their movie too.
Hey, yeah, and
Let
people
them
was
enjoy
feeling
it.
it because this shit was huge.
It's
I
huge.
remember, yeah, what was the hold on, I'm trying to see what year this first movie came out. I don't remember if I was in middle school or high school.
Oh my god, I don't even remember. Like it was a while ago. Let's see. I
Um,
believe if I'm gonna take a guess, because I think it was
2008.
that sounds right. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I was in high school. Yeah, this came out in 2008.
Did you go
Um,
see this? Did you watch this
I
movie?
think I did go see this. I'm pretty sure I did because I remember the first one for sure. They're in like Washington State or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I think I know I saw the first one for sure. I wasn't a big fan of it, and also I think I was
Horrible.
too old for it as well. Because I was in 2008, I was like 16 or
Yeah.
17 when this came out. So I think I was a little bit too old for it, but it definitely made major waves, so we had to
Okay.
bring that out. Now you mentioned this earlier, and I have not seen The Lost Boys.
Oh, see, now that's the cool. That's what that was my generation's I guess you could say Twilight. That everybody wanted to be Kiefer Sutherland in that movie.
Mhm.
Everybody wanted to have either Kiefer Sutherland and Jason Patrick. This movie is fun, not scary, not really terrifying. It was classic 80s, I believe 84, if I'm not mistaken. Um, it's a cool fucking movie though. The soundtrack's great. They have this ridiculous dude playing a saxophone, which he's a star on his own just because he's in this movie playing the saxophone shirtless. People love
Mhm.
this guy. It's Alex Winters from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures here. It's a fun flick. Jamie Gertz, the lovely Jamie Gertz. This is a movie that really capitalized on the MTV style kind of slick direction, hot soundtrack, good looking actors, doing crazy stuff. But it also had like Diana Weiss was in this movie and she's lovely. It's like it's a good fun flick. It's
Yeah.
but the irony though, that's not my favorite vampire movie from that year at all.
What is it?
Near Dark is my favorite
Near
vampire. Oh,
Dark. Now that's
yes.
one I have not heard of that. Now we gotta talk about that. Tell us about
Yes.
that.
So
Near
this
Dark.
movie is one of the cool, they don't even mention the word vampire, but it's Bill Paxton. Bill Paxton. It's oh gosh, what's his name? I'm blanking on the name. So Lance Henriksen. Uh
Oh yeah, Bill Paxton. He's
yeah.
gone now, but he
Yeah,
was in
he was god, that was heartbreaking to
'cause I
lose him.
remember him the first movie I saw him in was Twister and then Aliens.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Aliens, he was game over, man. It's over.
Dude, that dude was so cool, dude. He was such
Yeah.
a great actor, and apparently I've heard really like he was just the nicest guy in the world. So it just bums me out that he died so young. But yeah, he's freaking great in this movie. He's fucking great. It's not your typical movie. It's Adrian Pasdar plays this dude that meets up with this pretty girl, Jenny Wright, and she has a family of vampires that hangs with her, and it's directed by, oh god, what's her name?
Now this woman was in Aliens.
Yes.
No. She was
Yes.
in Aliens and she was in Terminator 2.
Yes, you are
Yeah.
correct. You are correct. She is an underrated actress. She is so good. She's great. She's so different in all three films that you're like,
Mhm.
what the? Yeah, this movie is brutal. It's got one of the coolest scenes in a restaurant, in a little diner. That it's grimy. Goddamn. I gotta look up the name of the author, the director, because someone I love, and people listening at home are probably like, God damn it, you know who this is. It's it's so frustrating. Near Dark is directed by, and I'm gonna kick myself. Yeah, Catherine Bigelow.
Catherine Bigelow.
Yeah, who did The Hurt Locker, and she's done some really cool stuff. She's really good at this. I would say Near Dark is a little creepier. But it's more. It is highly. It's an action film as well. There's a lot of action in it. It's brutal. It's uncompromising. All of it wrapped around a love story. It's a good flick.
It looks, I mean, and this looks like a very 1980s film too, because the 80s had that violent retro, real, like everything's kind of real serious and like real gripping, really draws you in. Totally unrelated from vampires, and we brought it up before, but one of my favorite movies from the 80s is Blade Runner.
Oh god, that movie rocks.
Yeah, I think it's just a really good movie, and
I do too.
with a good central theme.
Yeah.
And the dialogue, the tears and rain dialogue is really nice.
Well, I mean, also again, it deals with, you're talking about a character that's not a bad guy necessarily. Rutger Hauer is he's not, but he's finally kind of given up on the human race a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an interesting character. It's
he just wants to live and have a normal life, basically.
Yeah. Oh, you got my Anne Rice up. Now, here's the thing, though. I don't love this film.
Yeah.
I love the books. Mm-hmm. The film is good. It's really good. It's very good. I don't know how I feel. I think it would have been better had they not cast Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt.
Really? Who do you think would have done a better job in those roles? Because both of them are good actors, but you feel like it just wasn't for them.
It felt a little too studio. I think had they gone a little bit more, hired maybe English actors, someone maybe not so like maybe Jude Law at the time, or well, actually no, he may have been too young. I don't know. I think there could have been, if they hadn't gone for it. Look, they went for the money. They wanted to sell tickets and get asses in the seat, and I don't blame them for. And don't get me wrong, Tom Cruise is real. He's good in it. He's really good in it. It's a nice performance. Brad Pitt is really good in it. They're good performances, but I just think it felt too. I think they were afraid to go where they could have gone with it because it's extremely sexual. There's a lot of homoerotic shit in there. And I think they kind of chickened out on that stuff. I believe Anne Rice wasn't a fan of the movie to an extent. I think
this movie came out in '94, I saw.
Yeah.
And at the time, homoerotic stuff was not as acceptable or seen. That was Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and
I've heard the series. Like, I haven't watched the series. They do have a series on this, which I've heard.
I haven't seen it, but I did see that they do, because one of the actors from Game of Thrones is in it.
Yeah. I mean, well, things have weirdly changed in the sense that, like, I think what was taboo then isn't so taboo. We're a little open to it. I mean, I know that there's a certain fragment of society that's trying to bring it back to the time when it was taboo, but hopefully
once the toothpaste is out of the bottle, once it's out of the tube, it's a little hard to get it back in there for whatever
Sure
it
is.
is. So they gonna go down kicking and screaming, but it is what it is now.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that we can. I think we should be risky. I think films should be risky. Like
Yeah, that
I think Near Dark is a risky film. I think I think I like the when filmmakers take chance. There's a vampire movie with Lily Taylor, and I'm it kills me. I'm so flaking on the names, man. It's driving me crazy today. But the addiction. That's it. It paints vampirism as an addiction, as opposed to I believe it's called The Addiction.
the
Um,
addiction. That's interesting. So instead of it being an affliction, it's an addiction.
Addiction, and there was also the George Romero did the film Martin, which George Romero is known for the Living Dead series, which is one of my favorites. It was one of my introductions to horror. Night of the Living Dead on TV scared the fuck out of me. And this is that's a good film too. Like there's so much lore that's interesting, man. These monsters are fascinating.
Yeah. And it's just one piece of that classic old mythos. You got vampires, you got zombies, and you got like dragons and all of that.
Now,
Now
well,
this
I have a story for you for the next episode. I have to tease a little bit, but let's just say there's more. Let's just say I'm a big fan of the Wolfman that's coming out.
okay, yeah, because I did see that's coming out. You saw it is good.
I actually loved it.
Okay, now I'm excited to see it because I'm going out a little bit later. I was seeing if maybe there's some movies to see right now. Not really, but I did see that the Wolfman is getting ready to be in theaters.
Yeah, it's not. What I will say, I can't say too much. I don't think I know the social embargo has lifted, so I can say a little bit, but you've never seen a werewolf story like it,
Yeah,
ever, ever. It's very personal. I think Lee Winnell is one of the most talented genre filmmakers out there. Invisible Man is fantastic. Upgrade was great, and Wolfman feels it's different. It's so personal. It feels so relevant and personal and kind of sad. It's fucking sad. Like
yeah.
I
Sometimes a lot, but sometimes that's good. Like
yes,
it's good because again, like as you talked about being transported, and it's life is a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? Like life is a lot of shit, and it's not always happy. Whatever certain saga you're in doesn't always. Things typically come to an end in a way that you'd like. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah.
So, which is why you got to be present and really enjoy where you're at. But no, I'm interested. We need to get we're gonna have to get Mike on some type of Jimmy stamp. You know what
I
I'm
know.
saying? So like when you get to talking, we're gonna do just Jimmy stamp right on the camera, like boom.
I love that, dude. That would be
Yeah,
awesome.
we're gonna have to get that going. But
Yeah.
I am interested in seeing that. Now for this next one, I remember seeing this in theaters. I don't remember how old I was when this came out, but this is just a fun kids movie. Had you seen this? Do you remember this movie, Little
I've got to
Vampire?
say I missed that one.
Now, this came out in 2000. So this is because I remember this kid was in like he was like the kid star in all the little movies. He was in
Yeah.
Stuart Little.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, I don't remember the plot of this movie at all. I just remember that I saw it. And because when it came out, I was 8. So I was still interested in stuff
Were
like
you
that.
a fan?
Now this next one though,
Did you like that movie though when you were 8?
I don't remember. I think I did. I think I did. I don't remember disliking it. I think it was like a fun, cool little movie. You know what I'm
Sure,
saying?
sure. Like it's horror starter. I like that.
Yeah. And now this, I think I think I've seen this.
Yes, you would remember if you saw that. That From Dusk Till Dawn is one of those. It's Quentin Tarantino, so it's got the dialogue, it's got the action, it's got the shoot 'em up, like a little bit of gore. He likes that, but it's one of the coolest movies in the sense it completely switches gears halfway through because you're thinking you're watching something else. When that came out, people were like, "Oh, this is a crime drama. This is some kind of Wait, what? There's vampires? It was
Because at
cool.
the end of it, isn't it like they're stuck in some building and there's like just a ton of vampires that are kind of
Vampire
like
strippers, no
snakes?
less.
They're kind of like snakes, right? Like they,
No, they you got Selma Hayek as a sexy vampire lady, and I mean it's fun. Stripper vampires, man.
yeah. No, I
And
think I think I've seen this before.
yeah, this is a movie that I think a lot of people regard it as one of Quentin Tarantino's most. I don't know if I'd say his. This was he wrote the script, and I think it was if I'm not mistaken, it was Rodriguez who directed it. Correct? Let me double
Yeah, that's
check.
what
Yeah,
it says on here.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's it's a nice mix of those two because I like Rodriguez. I like him a lot. I think he's Robert Rodriguez as a filmmaker, especially El Mariachi, Desperado.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that had Antonio Banderas in it, didn't it?
yeah, he was in the
Yeah,
later ones.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and and Johnny Depp was in the last one that the third of those films. Um, I like the energy between Tarantino and Rodriguez. I like it. They also did Death Proof, which is I think terribly underrated. Or Grindhouse, sorry, the double bill of Death Proof and what was the other one? I'm blanking on that one, but it was like made as a double feature, but it's two movies technically. This movie almost feels that way because it feels like an introduction to that because you have two very different styles of films in one film, but it works. It works very well. You got a great script, and you got a Robert Rodriguez brings it. He does. And I can't believe I was like, oh yeah, I was like, he directed that one for a minute there. It's weird. It's one of those movies that's not my favorite, but I know a lot of people love it, especially Tarantino. People love his work. Whether it's one of my favorite Tarantino movies, dude, is True Romance.
I
He didn't.
haven't seen Romance.
Yeah, he didn't direct it. It was Tony Scott, but
He
he
wrote
wrote the script, and the
yeah.
script is brilliant. Brilliant. It's funny. It's shocking. It's great. I love when he writes, and I love when people direct his stuff. I just think
Yeah.
that's something about that. And I like what Robert Rodriguez did with this one. This is another one. Yeah, I think you would like this one. I feel
Yeah,
like
I remember it had to have been a long time ago that I saw it because I'm just getting these bits and pieces of it, but it's definitely something that I need to check out. Now,
yeah.
this one I have not seen, but I'm sure you have. What can you tell us about this?
Oh God, that's one of my favorites. Tom Holland directed this fine, wonderful movie. This is basically what if your neighbor's a vampire?
Yeah.
How would you react? And oh my God, this is a movie. This movie is a delight. This is one of the scariest. I'm gonna say something really bold here. One of the best, in my opinion, comedy horror films. Period is An American Werewolf in London.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There's
And we
no,
talked a little bit about that before, and that
we did.
I liked it when I saw it when I was a little kid. It is a
Yeah,
really good movie.
it's excellent. This is very close to that because it has that same. It's scary. It's actually scary, but it's also funny. It's also charming. It's also Chris Sarandon is great. And I'm going to say this too. This is super controversial. The remake with Colin Farrell is really good too.
Yeah.
It is. Yes, they're both good. It's a fun story. The idea that yeah,
It is interesting. It sounds
yeah,
interesting, and there's something about again the just the '80s style. It's very distinctive and serious. I
yeah,
would say that's a good word for it. Like it just really grips you
yeah,
and brings you in.
it doesn't cheapen the horror. Like it
Yeah,
doesn't cheapen the horror with the comedy because there are stakes. That's my problem with horror comedies. It's like, please don't remove the stakes out. There's still got to be stakes to make it because humor can be used as a, oh God, thank God I need a little laugh there. Because
yeah,
you see all these horrible things, but I think this movie is one of the best at it. This would go up there with Near Dark for me.
okay, all
Yeah.
right, cool. Well, this is one that I have to see as well because I
Oh
haven't
yes.
seen it. I'm gonna go. Yeah, I got just this growing list of stuff, And it's, I mean, like it's now, not only is it a good pastime, but you make content out of it. So it's part of work,
Yeah.
which is cool as hell.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
I never watched this.
you did, yeah, I remember you mentioned that you hadn't seen this. At some point, I remember you said this a few times that you hadn't
Yes.
watched it. I used to tune into this all the time. This is an HBO show, I think.
Yeah, I heard it was really sexy and fun.
Yeah, it's cool. I don't remember how old I was when it first came out. I think I was either in middle school or high school, but good script, good story. It's interesting. They're in like Louisiana, and vampires basically made the decision to come out to the world to be
Yeah.
like, hey, we're not a myth. We actually exist. And basically we think that, for our relations, it would be good. So basically the humanity knows the vampires are real. True blood is synthetic blood.
Okay.
And yeah, so that's what true blood is. It's like a synthetic blood so that they can try to like live and work together. And there's
Oh,
other magical creatures in the series. And it takes place in Louisiana. And two of the main characters are Bill, and he's like a vampire from like the Civil War era. That's when he got turned. And then Sookie, and she's like she can read minds, and I think she's
okay.
a fairy or something, but you don't figure that out till like way later. But this is a cool show. I thought it was
Okay.
cool. At least the first season was good.
Oh, does it suffer like a lot of series? It's like you have this great idea, then they kind of go, well, we don't know where to go with it.
Yeah, yeah. And then
Oh,
eventually it's not long before there's just way too much happening. You know what I'm saying? Like this, yeah, that one of those examples where you get the contracts and it's like, I don't really know what to do with this.
yeah.
Now you did mention this. My dad, he tells I haven't seen this, but my dad, he's tries to get me to see this multiple times, and I'm thinking that I need to do it.
It's fun. I mean, I wouldn't it's one of those movies that's like I actually preferred Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies. That's one I liked better.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's fine. I think they could have done a little better job of it. It's very forgettable for me. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think again, I believe it was based on a book, and I heard the book was better. So that's
Books are always better.
almost always. I think there's been a couple times like when they used to make, and I think they still do. They would make book versions, novel versions of like Halloween 2. They had books about, and they were so goofy. But that
Yeah.
again, that wasn't written before the movie. That was written to capitalize on the movie. So yeah, it's not going to be as good as the movie. But yeah,
Mm-mm.
in general, yeah, books are better.
Yeah. And well, there's just so much more that you can do with books. But apparently, from what I know about Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunters, it's like the
It's true.
Confederacy is
He
made
wasn't.
up
It's a
of.
true story, by the way.
Oh, it's true.
Absolutely.
Okay, so they just trying to let us know what really happened. So yeah, the Confederacy made up by vampires, vampire warriors, basically, and okay, so that's what was really going on.
That's
That
true.
that's why the movie didn't get more promo because they don't want us to know that shit.
Yeah, they want to keep that hidden, man.
Yeah, man, the deep state just doing what it does.
Yeah,
Now,
damn it.
this is one of the ones that I remember seeing this. Did you see this?
Let me see. I, yeah, yeah.
You weren't a big fan of it, were you?
No, not at all. It's
It wasn't
terrible.
that good of a movie. It really wasn't. Even when I was younger and I saw it, it just there's a lot going on really quickly.
I wanted to love this because Hugh Jackman is a joy. The dude is
Yeah.
awesome. He's so cool, and I love. We've already expressed Kate Beckinsale. She's amazing.
Mhm.
This movie sucked ass. Let's be real. It's so cheesy and not
Yeah.
scary and not. It again. It was one of those kind of let's kind of soften the horror element and make it a silly action movie. Mm,
Yeah, yeah. It seemed kind of like a just like a action monster movie,
yeah, with
basically.
really, really, really bad effects.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh my god.
it was. I thought that the werewolf was cool when I was younger, but it did, yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, that movie really wasn't that great.
No, they're dude. I mean, the thing about it is though, like I believe like there are certain movies I've watched as a kid. I've watched them now, and I can say, yeah, it's not a bad movie. It's not a good movie, but I'm like, I still enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, and there's others that have lost that shine, but you know that. So I'm half the movies I watched as a kid were slasher movies, so most of them are not good. You
Yeah.
know?
But it's fun, like
Yeah,
there's all types of gore and guts and blood going all over the place.
exactly.
And yeah, damn right.
I
And we
would watch
covered a
that
lot of
movie more if it had been an R-rated movie and maybe less of the CG. That
yeah.
would have liked it more. I like them too. I like they're funny. They're goofy.
Now, I mean, we went over a lot of movies, and there's no
Yeah.
way that that's all of them. There's still a bunch of shows. Speaking of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, there was a show after that, Angel.
Angel, I
Is
watched it. It was
Yeah,
great.
that was a good show.
Yeah.
And that actor, he's had a very lucrative television career.
Yeah.
He was in
Yeah.
Buffy
I'm
the
not
Vampire.
supposed to. Yeah.
Yeah, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel. He was in that show Bones. That
David
had like
Boreanaz.
12 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was on some like show kind of similar to that recently too. He's had a hell of a television
He
career.
really has. He has. I mean, he's it's television is a interesting thing because there's a lot of people that work very regularly. They're not necessarily recognizable to audiences outside of that box, who watch the shows per se. They're not, they're not Brad Pitt. They're not, but I mean, look, he's recognizable. He's a working actor. He's found a way to make a very good living in this business. Props to him, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And again, like you said, just that consistency and
Mhm.
people still watch these shows. So he's
Yeah.
still, yeah, definitely. A lot much more consistent work than being a movie actor for sure.
Oh, sure, for sure,
I
for
don't
sure.
know what their contracts are like, but I'm sure he's made plenty of money
Oh,
doing what he's done for
oh
sure.
God, yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. And again, still so many other movies that we didn't cover that I haven't seen.
I mean, we'll have
Um,
to this is a topic we could revisit. We could put the focus on smaller movies. We could do a lot with. I mean, look, the Universal monsters, whether we're talking Dracula, Nosferatu, obviously, in essence, Wolfman, Invisible Man, they're great stories. Ultimately, it's like Shakespeare. You can redo Shakespeare all the time. And it's interesting that we're in a world where so much of it is remakes and stuff, and we complain about it. Yet I'm like, all, ooh, I want another werewolf movie. I want, it's,
yeah,
but
because you can tell somewhat of a different story.
yeah,
So
yeah,
like with something like that, and sometimes with the remake, you can tell a different story too.
sometimes, yeah,
And sometimes there's been enough time that's gone by. Like the last Nosferatu was in '79.
yeah.
One
I mean,
before that was 22.
yeah, I mean, we're talking. My issue is like the tons of sequels, a remake 10 years later, or remake of movies that really you're like, really? Did we need a remake of that? I mean,
Yeah.
you
What
know,
do you think about a remake of American Psycho?
that movie was felt unless okay, unless I think if they stuck more to the book, maybe.
Mhm.
And made it it's possible, but my God, Christian Bale really he kind of is that character. I mean, he
Yeah.
brought that thing to life. I don't know if Austin Butler would be I love Austin. He's great. I don't see him as being that guy, but I don't know. It's kind of it's a battle we're not going to win. They're going to just remake everything. Every movie
Yeah.
be remade.
Yeah, I feel like that's just a movie that's such a classic in and of itself
Yeah.
that doing another one just kind of like isn't necessary. Like it, it would have to be really different for people to be that interested in seeing it.
Yeah,
Like there would have to be something spectacular about it.
there's certain movies that feel like they belonged in that time period. That was one of them. Big Trouble in Little China is a great movie, a John Carpenter movie that they were talking about remaking it with The Rock, I believe. I'm just like, no, stop, just
Yeah.
stop. There's
do something different.
Yeah, you can base it on it, get inspired by it, but it's all about having that recognizability. You know what I'm saying? So it's if they can do something different with it, hey, I'm all for it. But like, I don't know. I really I get excited. Like I was excited by the Wolfman because it felt like a different movie. It didn't feel like the same thing. It was something that I've never seen before. So I think there's that ability out there. I don't think remakes need to be just stale fucking copies of the original. You know, I mean, look at one of the best remakes ever made was The Thing, John Carpenter. That movie is, and it doesn't take anything from the original. I just think the need for that recognizability needs to shift. I think we need a little bit of a bad word, diversity in movies.
Right.
Oh my god. So
and again, but I think that we're definitely I expect to continue to see really good movies, really good shows, because the market's open for it, and we need it, and we need it.
Yeah, and I think there is a sense of look. You know, I got to interview a possible Oscar winner. You know, I talked to Adrian Brody for The Brutalist. He won the Golden Globe, and I'm so and Colin Farrell red one for The Penguin. Woo!
Right.
But I think that I'm hoping that movies like that, Nosferatu, September 5, these original stories, well, not Nosferatu, it's not original, but these original ways to tell a story. That's the beauty of it. Story there's only a few stories out there to tell. Let's just make them unique, make them interesting, and take chances. I miss that. I miss the kind of risky, and it unfortunately, because the movie industry has been hit so hard, it's scary because we don't know where it's going to go, and you know, there's a kind of a backlash towards Hollywood, like we were talking about before we started this with, I mean, people actually going, oh, it's God's will. Fuck off with that, seriously. But I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like when things get bad, a lot of times people get inspired to really tell great stories, and you know, it's a tough price to pay for great movies, but
art imitates life, though.
Yeah,
that's where it comes from. Without some type of deep, real inspiration, how can we tell good stories at all?
Yeah, exactly.
So, but no, I think we ran through some good stuff today.
We did.
And
it was a much needed. I was putting it off, my friend, because honestly,
I mean, shit, the city's on fire, man.
Yeah, I didn't even know. Like, I honestly, I was like planning just to. But luckily, I'm in a position I can try and help people. Like, I can donate to some places, deliver some stuff. I'm, you know, I'm just trying to. I'm Los Angeles is a really wonderful city. I love it here, and I'm seeing a lot of good here right now. I'm seeing a lot of people trying to help each other, and you know, if you can, just honestly, just try and be understanding people. Where, you know, just let's try to be good to each other. Right? That would be a nice goal for 2025.
And hopefully these tragedies can help us all collectively go into this time period we're in with open arms and you know, just a willingness to come together, because that's definitely what we need. Now I'm trying to see, we'll find out, because I think it's the 19th that TikTok is supposed to be banned. So we'll see what happens with that, because it's just so easy to market on TikTok. But we'll take it a day at a time and see what happens. I'd be very surprised if they kept that ban, because it
would be stupid.
There's just so much commerce and money being exchanged and made on that platform in America for American businesses.
Yeah,
there's just going to be so much of an uproar.
Yeah,
you know, if Donald Trump's going to have, he might as well just be like, no, we're gonna keep it safe. We're gonna protect TikTok.
Honestly, that's like the best thing for that he could do.
Why not? I mean, he might as well.
And it's beneficial for him too. Like, let's be real.
Yeah, because
So-
yeah, people would definitely give him credit for that.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
But hey, man. But cool. We gonna go ahead and wrap it up. I'll get this out. But yeah, we gonna close
Sounds
this
good.
out. I'm glad we could come together and
Me
do
too.
this, even though there's all this crazy the fires and just starting this year the way that we have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey now. Thank you so much for tuning in here at Politics and Paper. If you like what I do and you support my work, go ahead and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it and really helps to support what we do here.